be bringing chairs this time.
No, we just
Oh, never mind. Oh, that was fun. I threw stuff in it. I did.
As soon as it comes up, I'll get started.
Is this a long lesson?
It's a little bit longer. So that's good that we have class today with this, since you're going to be in here an hour and 20 minutes. So, well, there about. All right. So you seem to have a fairly decent grasp on the factoring when the first term is 1, when x squared doesn't have a coefficient, which is 1. So this is 8-7. And this is solving and factoring ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 when a does not equal 1. When a doesn't equal 1. So when you are factoring, and that first term is just x squared or m squared or 1, you can factor like you did yesterday. Okay. When it's not, it gets a little bit trickier, especially if the numbers get a little bit bigger. So a couple things I want to point out about this before I get started in the factoring. This equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, this is a quadratic equation. I'm going to go ahead and go over this part with you, even though I'm not teaching quadratics just yet. This is considered a quadratic equation. The graph of a quadratic equation is a parabola. It's a U-shaped graph, looks like that. When we solve this equation, what we're looking for are the points where it crosses that x-axis. And that's what we're looking for. And that's why both answers have to be correct. Because you can say, well, I got this answer, but not this answer. Well, you didn't get the parabola. And so that's what we're looking for. Now, this form of the equation is standard form. Okay, so standard form, again, is that ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Everything has to be on one side of the equal sign, and it's set equal to 0. Before you factor it, you're going to want it in this form. So if it's not written in that form, you need to put it in that form. You had one in the homework like that. Okay. For example, if I gave you this, okay, I'm not even going to try to factor. I'm just talking about standard form right now. If you're going to put it in standard form, you're going to need to subtract 7x from both sides. On the right side, that's going to leave you a 0. And on the left side, that's going to leave you 8x squared minus 7x plus 3 in this order always. Okay? The exponents are always going to be in descending order. Okay. Here's my first example. There's a list that I write out with this, and it's kind of a longer list. But get the list in your notes, what I write down. Because this is how you're going to want to factor these. So example 1, 5x squared plus 13x plus 6 equals 0. Okay. The first thing I want you to do, okay, always, step 1, I want you to multiply the first and last term together. And you're going to multiply the first and last term together. That's here to here. And when you do, you're going to get 30x squared. Okay. I wrote it here like this. So you got 5x squared times 6 equals 30x squared. Okay, that's the first thing I want you to do. Then step 2, I want you to write that product, that answer. So write the product and middle term side by side. I want you to write that somewhere side by side so you can see these two things together. So I'm going to do 30x squared here, and then the middle term right here, 13x. Put them side by side. Here's the thing. You're better when you can see things. We're all visual learners. Step 3. Ask yourselves, not me, ask what two numbers can I multiply? See, that should sound a little bit familiar like yesterday. Can I multiply to get 30x squared, but add or subtract to get 13x. Now step 2, or this step 3 is very specific to this problem, and each problem those numbers are going to change. But you need to ask, what two numbers can I multiply to get 30x squared, but add or subtract to get 13x? So that's where you list out the factors again. So I'm going to show you real quick. 1 times 30 is 30, or 1x and 30x, 2x and 15x, 3x and 10x, 5x and 6x. These are the factors of 30x squared right here. Everybody understand that? And I'm not going to list these out every time. You need to find the set that when you multiply will give you 30x squared, but when you add will give you 13x. Okay, so everybody understand what I just did there?
Yeah.
Okay. Since nobody's going to tell me what it is, I'll go ahead and write it down or show you. There it is. Once you determine your factors, so this is going to be step 4. Once you determine the factors, you're going to rewrite the problem. You're going to rewrite this problem. Okay, and this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to actually write it here. It's going to be 5x squared. I'm taking this 13x out, and I'm putting those factors in its place. Plus 10x plus 3x plus 6 equals 0. Okay. I'll make a little note. First and last term stays the same. All you're doing is replacing that middle term with the factors. And I'm not changing the value of the problem, because if I add 10x and 3x, I'm going to get 13x. So I'm not changing it. All I did is I went from 3 factors or 3 terms to 4. Does everybody understand that? And just so you know, that's the trickiest part of this process. Right there, what I just did. Once you do that, we're going to factor by grouping. We're going to factor by grouping. You guys remember that? Step 1, group your terms. Okay. So I'm going to group my terms. And I'm going to factor each set of parentheses using greatest common factor. In this first set of parentheses, what's the greatest common factor? 5x. So then divide both terms by 5x. And when you do, you're going to get x plus 2 in parentheses. Then out front, I'm going to write 5x. Greatest common factor in that second set of parentheses, 3. Divide both terms by 3. And when you do, you're going to get x plus 2, that's in parentheses, then the plus 3 out front. And then Put your answers in the parentheses. In one set of parentheses are the two greatest common factors. That's these two numbers. So I'm going to do 5x plus 3. And I'm going to do x plus 2. And I'll put the equals 0 behind it because I'm going to solve it. So like this, it's factored. We've just factored it. Now, like yesterday, since there's an equal 0, use the zero product property and solve each set of parentheses. Set each one of these equal to 0 and solve. In the first one, I subtract 3 from both sides. I get 5x equals negative 3. Divide both sides by 5, and you get x equals negative 3/5. There's one answer. On the second one, I subtract 2 from both sides. I get x equals negative 2. There's the second answer. Okay, that's where that parabola crosses the x-axis at those 2 points. And these are the steps to do that. Is there an easier way? No. I used to teach guess and check, and I would just have students guess and check. The problem is students would just guess and throw any numbers in the parentheses, and then they'd never go back and check, and they'd be the dumbest answers. I mean, they say there's no such thing. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Like for this problem, they would probably have something like, 12x plus 4, and then, some other x minus 1. And I'm like, where'd the 12 even come from? I mean, just the craziest answers. Just like they randomly put answers in and thought that was going to go. This method will work when we factor. Now, I'm going to tell you this so you know. Okay, so everybody's clear. I have to teach you factoring. It's a state standard. Okay, I have to show you how to do this. And I have to test you to make sure you do know. But if we were doing quadratics, and this was the unit we were doing, I would teach you the quadratic formula and tell you to solve them that way. It's easier and it works every time. Not every single equation written like this can be factored. Now for today, I will tell you everything I give you, you can factor. But once we get into quadratics, you can't factor them all. So there you have it. We should probably do another one. Think one more? Make you feel pretty good? Okay, let's do one more. I mean, I can do a couple, like we got plenty of time. So, but let's do this one. I want to pick one a little bit more challenging than these. No, that's what it is. All right. So let's do 4x squared plus 17x plus 15 equals 0. Okay. Step 1, multiply the first two terms together. When you did that, or do that, what do you get? 60x squared. 4x squared times 15 is 60x squared. And I just usually write that off to the side, and then I take that 17x and put it right next to it. There's my first two steps. I'm not going to count off if I don't see this. I'm just telling you it's easier when you can see it. Now, what can we multiply to get 60x squared, but add to get 17? Okay, 5 and 12. That is correct. So if I do 12x and 5x. Okay. Again, guys, this is the hardest part of this, is figuring out what the factors are. Okay. Rewrite the problem now that you've got your factors laid out. Take the 17x out and put these two numbers in this place. So I'm going to get 4x squared plus 12x plus 5x plus 15 equals 0. Now, it doesn't really matter the order that you put your 5x and your 12x. Okay, it doesn't matter. I will say that I try to keep multiples together, like 4 is a multiple of 12, or 12 is a multiple of 4, and 15 is a multiple of 5. I try to keep like numbers together so they'll factor better or faster. And then from here, you factor by grouping. Greatest common factor in the first set of parentheses is 4x. Divide both by 4x. And you're going to get x plus 3 with your 4x out front. Greatest common factor in the second set of parentheses is 5. And when we do, we're going to get x plus 3. I'm going to do 4x plus 5, x plus 3, set equal to 0. And now I can set each one of those terms equal to 0 and solve. So in the first one, I subtract 5. I get 4x equals negative 5. Divide by 4. So I'm going to get x equals negative 5/4 is one answer. The second one, I subtract 3 from both sides. I'm going to get x equals negative 3. There's my two answers. Okay. You're going to do one. You will do one to show me that you can. Let's do this one. I have to make sure these in the book. Some of these don't factor. I don't want to give you. That'd be pretty crappy of me to give you one that doesn't actually factor. Okay, you guys do this one. 2x squared plus 9x minus 18 equals 0.
Positive. Yeah. So then you do put that equation set to 0. No, add them together. So then you
All right.
do
Have
that.
answers. Okay, well, I'm going to start the, yep. Yep.
3 over 2. X equals 6. Negative 3.
Okay, I don't know yet, so that's fine. I just wanted to write it down because I'm going to work it out. All right, so we know 2x squared and negative 18 is negative 36x squared. And then I'm going to do the 9 next to it. And I know the factors I'm going to use are, let's see, 12 and 3. So I'll do 12x and negative 3x. I don't know if I multiply those two things together. So I'm going to replace the middle term. And again, I don't care where you put your factors. It doesn't matter the order. I'm just going to go ahead and put them. Actually, I'm going to switch the order just to show you that it does work. So I'm going to do 2x squared minus 3x plus 12x minus 18x, and this equals 0. If your factors are in a different order, that's fine. And put parentheses around both to group. Greatest common factor here is x. I'm going to factor that out. And I'm going to get 2x minus 3. And then here I'm going to factor out a 6. Oh, there's no x there, sorry. A 6. And I'm going to get x minus 3. 2x minus 3. I'm getting a negative 6 on this.
That's what I got.
Okay. Okay. So, and then you're right, this was positive. Okay. So x equals negative 6 and x equals positive 3 over 2. All right, so before I get ready, I'm going to pass out homework. It's on my paper today. So, Kensington, if you're still online, Kenzie, if you're still online, I will get that posted in just a minute. All right, hold on. So, what questions do you have about this? So if you follow those 8 steps, you should be okay. But again, the hardest process in this, the absolute hardest step, especially when you get into bigger numbers, is finding out what the factors are. You know, when I give you something that says, what can I multiply to get, 246, but add to get 14 or 28? It gets a little tricky. So, not my preferred method of solving quadratics, but I will show you how to do this. So I've got 8 problems I want you to do. You're review Friday. You're going to work on them in class though. On problem number 4, that is a plus sign. Looks kind of messed up, so you know it is a plus sign. going to give you a small quiz on Friday over the study we talked about this week. Please make sure if you have questions that you ask. You may listen to music, you have the phones, just make sure you get some work done.